we are not okay. And I've been playing around with this sentence, this phrase, whatever you want to call it, but it's just really that, like, we are not okay, period. Hey everybody, it's Georgie, and I am back with the 5th season of doing the most misadventures of entrepreneurship. And if you started listening to this season, season 5, you'd see the first 2 episodes were really about my journey, right? This journey that I've been on to self-love, self-care, self-acceptance, and just becoming a better version of myself. And in those first 2 episodes, I do share a little bit about the experiences that I've gone through over the last couple of years, a little bit pre-pandemic, and then life got turned even more upside down during the pandemic. And my direction for the season was going to go in one of just sharing more stories of my own. And I'm still going to be sharing more stories of my own, but I didn't get to do that. So I recorded the first 2 episodes back in September, and then life happened, business happened, and I just took a break. And the break was not because I didn't write out all the episodes, because I did. I actually was most prepared for this season than any other season, where I wrote out all the episodes, the show notes, the things I wanted to talk about. But again, life happens. And so I took a pause because I was just kept on getting in my head, because I'm like, what I want to talk about, what I want to study, what I want to focus on is this theme that kept on coming up into my head. And the theme is, we are not okay. And I've been playing around with this sentence, this phrase, whatever you want to call it, but it's just really that, like, we are not okay, period. And what that means is, to me, is that what we saw during the pandemic was just that. We are not okay. We thought that we wanted to do certain things in certain ways, and we realized, like, we're not okay with these things. We're not accepting of these things. We don't want to live like this. And so I'm going to read a little piece that I wrote, because I think what's going to happen with the we are not okay statement, sentence, whatever I want to call it, is my next book. That sounds crazy saying it out loud, but, or at least series of blog posts, right? Because I really want to dive into this topic of human psychology, as well as how we work, live, and play, and how that intersects. But let me just read what I wrote. So I'm going to be looking at the screen. So it goes, We Are Not Okay is a series of stories and lessons learned on the journey to self-acceptance, self-love, and personal growth. This journey has been like climbing a mountain with my eyes closed. Thankfully, I have been supported along the way by therapy, family, reading, writing, and various tools that have helped me reach the summit and open my eyes to the beauty that is my best self and best life. Not only that, I know I am not the only one who has experienced the things that I've gone through. This book is a love letter to let you know that we are in this together, and we are not alone. You are not alone. You are loved, seen, and valued. In every healing journey, the first step is to admit that there's an issue. So I'm going to say the words that we have all been avoiding. You don't have to say it. I'll say it for both of us. We are not okay. Now take a deep breath and sit with that reality for a second. It doesn't mean anything bad. It means that we are ready to take that first step to healing. So this is what I wrote, and I'm really serious about this. So I've just been really focused a lot on boundaries and habits, confidence and strength building, womanhood, and discovering sexuality and just like the pieces of myself, spirituality, vision, boss shit, right? Getting money, finances. So I've been talking a lot about these topics, motherhood, womanhood overall, right? Like, what do these things mean to me, and what do they mean to the people around me? And you're probably just like, what does this mean for the podcast though, Georgie? This is doing the most misadventures of entrepreneurship. I know, y'all. Just give me a second. I'm getting there. And what this means for the podcast is that this season, what I did was interviews. So I have over 20 interviews and more coming up. We're going to be doing some bonus episodes with the live streams that are going to be going on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all the stuff. And these episodes, y'all, this season, the way we got deep, just listen. Like, y'all are gonna be blown away, because the episodes that I have recorded so far, the way we had the conversation was, we definitely had intros and then, my storytelling, as well as like questions that I would ask the guests. But two questions that we really hit up on, actually one question. So we had, what's your biggest misadventure? And you share a story. But the one other question that we highlighted the most this season is, how do you manage your mental health? Right? And we saw how mental health impacted us all during the pandemic and slightly prior to the pandemic, and how self-care was becoming more talked about. But we see a lot of surface self-care when we look at the media. And the same reason why I started the podcast, because of all the hustle porn and people like, yeah, I did this really hard thing and now I'm super successful, yay me. But not really talking about the nitty gritty, the moments in between, the journey. So the same reason why I started the podcast is because of that lack of context in the content, is the same reason why I shifted this season to talk more and focus on what are we doing as entrepreneurs to manage our mental health. Almost every industry that I could think of has been thrown on its head the last 24 months and counting. And once we got into the pandemic, and then things changed a bit, and blockchain, Bitcoin, NFTs, markets crashed, and now we're slightly coming out of the pandemic. What has that looked like? And that has looked like a lot of entrepreneurs rethinking the way we live, work, and play, and not just entrepreneurs, right? What we're heading into is the future of work. And what work will look like in the present and in the future is distributed, right? Autonomous. It's going to look like a portfolio career where there isn't just one job that you do. And it's going to look like fluctuating between being an intrapreneur, so working in an entrepreneurial mindset inside of an organization, as well as being an entrepreneur, owning your own business. And then the phases of being a freelancer or a person with an agency versus a person with a full time, working full time at their company as like a CEO. Those three titles are also entrepreneurs, but each one of them come with a different weight. And we have to remember that. It looks different from a person that's a freelancing entrepreneur than a person that is a small creative agency entrepreneur to a person that is an entrepreneur CEO of a large or medium-sized organization. These livelihoods, the way we have to interact, the way we have to process our day, right? The stress level that we have, right? And so we don't talk about these nitty gritty parts. And so I don't want to give away too much. And I want you all to tune in for this season that's coming up, because these episodes really dive into that statement that I said before. We are not okay, as well as what are we doing to be better? What are we doing to take care of ourselves and the people around us? And that's what we're going to be talking about in this season. So episodes will start airing next week, and we're going to have a conversation. So the conversation is going to be continued on my social media at GSD with Georgie, mostly on Instagram. That's where I'll be having most of the continued conversation. A little bit on Twitter as well as LinkedIn. We'll be airing the episodes live. But I really want to focus on what the future of work looks like for us all, and how we can start that healing conversation by acknowledging that we are not okay and discovering together what we're going to do about that. So I hope you all are excited to tune in and be a part of this season with me. My apologies for my hiatus, but not too many apologies, because it was necessary, right? We wouldn't have gotten this magic if I didn't take a break. If I tried to push, we wouldn't have gotten this greatness. So yeah, let me know what you're most excited about for this season. I'm excited for you all to hear this season, and I cannot wait to continue doing the most on the misadventures of entrepreneurship with you all. Thanks, everybody. Tune in soon.